relevant when a young candidate tries to sleep her way into politics and into power. And that is what it appears Kamala Harris did.
She's never earned or won anything. Like she was legitimately handed her original post in California state government because she was sleeping with Willie Brown. And then he backed her in her race for San Francisco DA.
We literally have three choices as Democrats. Either you vote for Donald Trump, you vote for Joe Biden, or you stay on the couch.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Common sense 101. I got your big reason why you better not frickin' vote for Kamala Harris.
These protests here today, and it was all about immigration and citizens' rights.
100,000 white women. That is a giant group of white women. I believe the scientific term is actually a goop of women.
Do you think a lot of people want to let them vote in the next election? Do you think they should be able to vote?
It should be open to interpretation. I think some people should be able to vote. I don't think you necessarily need to be a legal citizen.
Wow. Look at these wild liberal perspectives here, talking about the voting policies and the voting laws that should be provided to illegal immigrants. Crazy.
I feel like everyone should have a right to vote. I mean, it's going to make an impact on who we want to be as president, as mayor, as councilor, so.
Remember, age is more than a chronological fact. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
Even if they came in illegally, they should be able to vote?
Yeah. I think everybody needs a chance.
That is why we put them in dormitories, and they have a resident assistant. They make really bad decisions.
I feel like
now, granted, those kids, I don't know, they're probably 14, 15 years old at the most. I mean, I can't even really value their opinion, to be honest with you, but they probably have very liberal parents. So I guess it doesn't really come as too much of a shock that they're more sympathetic to this illegal activity.
Everybody needs a chance.
I feel like they're not really supposed to be in this. I mean, it's not like they're not supposed to be in this country.
But you have a right.
I'm not trying to say that. It's just like they're just not official.
Do you think all these?
But he was right, and he didn't want to appear to be racist, right? So that's why he tried to kind of edit what he said. But essentially, they're not supposed to be here because there's a legal process for entering the country. So if you're here illegally, he's right originally in his original thought. They're not supposed to be here. Now, if you enter the country legally, now it's a completely different story. You're supposed to be here.
Do you think all these folks that came across in the last few years should be able to vote in the next election?
I think that's too soon. I think that's too soon. It's totally too soon.
America's supposed to be great, so we have all the resources and all the stuff. So those people who are supposed to come here, I feel like they need us for help. So yes, they should have a right to vote. We're supposed to be the people that make everything perfect.
Anyway, guys, if you haven't already, thanks so much for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter. I totally appreciate you guys.
You're for decriminalizing border crossings. You're one of the people that raised hands at the debate. Do you agree with AOC that we should get rid of DHS altogether?
That is not correct. I'm not in favor of decriminalizing or not having consequence for it. We have to keep, let me just be very clear. We have to have a secure border, but I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
JD Vance destroys race hoaxing CNN reporter. Check this out.
The former president's comments yesterday to the National Association of Black Journalists, where he said that Vice President Harris is, quote, all of a sudden black. As a father of 3 biracial children, did those comments give you pause at all?
They don't give me pause at all. Look, all he said is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She goes to Georgia 2 days ago. She was raised in Canada. She puts on a fake Southern accent. She is everything to everybody, and she pretends to be somebody different depending on which audience she's in front of. I think it's totally reasonable for the president to call that out, and that's all he did. I mean, look, she's running as a tough on crime prosecutor, even though she implemented open border policies. She's saying that she wants to support the police, yet she wanted to defund the police just 3 years ago. It's totally reasonable to call out the fact that she pretends to be somebody different depending on the audience she's talking to.
And what we've got to do is we cannot have any more policy like we have under this current president that is about inhumane conduct, that is about putting putting babies in cages. It is about separating children from their parents. And we have got to have policy that is about passing comprehensive immigration reform with a pathway towards citizenship, shutting down these private
Clarify this for me, though, because
Yes,
I do
please.
find it confusing.
Yes.
I believe if someone crosses over the border, it is illegal, and you would decriminalize it.
I would not make it a crime punishable by jail. It should be a civil enforcement issue, but not a criminal enforcement issue.
Okay.
There should be, you got to play by the rules, but we can't treat people like criminals.
This ex post made me so mad I almost threw the damn phone across the room. I need a goody powder because I have a headache. Why is it this illegal alien, this so-called migrant from Venezuela, left a receipt at the cash register in one of the New York City bodegas? Hold up. I'm going to tell you. Why is it that this heifer, who has never put anything into this country, never worked in this country, never paid Social Security tax, never paid a property tax, never put into the IRS, never paid anything into anything, came here with her damn hands stuck out, came from shithole country, wherever the hell you from, this individual left the receipt where she had just bought some food at the bodega. Okay? Her food stamp balance, let me make sure I'm getting this right, on her EBT card, her taxpayer funded EBT card, her food stamp balance is $13,401.82.
Damn.
For 1 month. That's this individual's food stamp balance.
How many
for
kids she
1
got?
month. Okay? Because when you use your EBT card, it leaves a record of the balance after you've gone to the store and spent it, whatever. But somehow, this bitch who is literally never, and yeah, I said it, I'm going to say it again. This bitch who has never paid anything into this system is somehow worthy to get $13,401.82. Cash balance is $4,498.85. The fuck? I really do need a goody powder. That's just one. That's one of them. That's one of them. New York has hundreds of thousands of these foreign nationals roaming around. Why does she have $13,000 in food stamps? I'm mystified. I mean, veterans are literally sleeping on the frickin' streets with maybe $100, $200 a month in food stamps. And they fought in wars to protect this country.
Do you think illegal immigrants should be able to vote?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're paying taxes and you're putting money into the economy for a country that you've lived up for over a decade, yes, I think you should have a voice in the people that are making rules on your life.
Wow, for a country that you've entered into illegally, you should have no rights whatsoever. You shouldn't even be here. So this is a non-issue. So Kamala Harris supporters and illegal aliens are turning out in mass protest in the nation's capital to demand the right to vote in the United States elections. This is unbelievable. This is what Kamala Harris's job as border czar was really about. Kamala Harris wanted illegals to be able to enter the country illegally so that they could vote for the Democrat of their choice. That was the goal all along.
kick us out, you better get a seat right next to us and buckle up. Because it's all of us or none of us.
Do you think illegal immigrants should be able to vote in this next election?
I do. They live in this country. They have a purpose being here, and every vote should count. Everybody should be able to have a place to speak, whether your documentation status. That shouldn't be affected because you're living in this country, so that's going to affect you whether you have documentation or not.
That's like saying if someone breaks into your house, number one, the robber should be able to stay in your house, live with you, and then have voting rights on what color we should paint the walls or what kind of furniture we should change in this home that they have broken into. That's basically the same kind of logic that we're hearing here, guys.
It's not legal for an illegal person to vote.
We know that the Constitution says only citizens can vote, and everyone should have the opportunity to have a path to citizenship.
Why do you think they deserve those citizen rights?
So it's almost like that lady is saying that there is no path to citizenship. But yet there are so many new citizens that become citizens who are legal migrants to the country, and they become U.S. citizens every single year using the legal process that's in place. So what is she talking about?
Because they're human. We're all humans, and it's a basic human right. So, yeah.
So we had you.
Wait, so again, going back to what I said earlier, it's a basic human right. So wait, so I pay a mortgage here and this is my house. Should I just allow any old body to break into my house and then decide to live with me and then change the rules and have a say in how my household is run or how your household is run? Imagine someone breaks into your house. Number one, you're like, what are you doing here? And then two, they decide to live with you, bunk in with your kids in one of your kids' bedrooms, and then they want to tell you how to operate things in your house. That's essentially what's happening here.
In the United States, that has even been confirmed by this administration. How dangerous, or I should say, how concerned should we be about terrorist attacks here in the United States?
We should. The bottom line is the border has been open. There's been confirmation by multiple law enforcement sources that terrorists are here. The Iranians are going to be looking to strike out. And notably, two things, Katrina, I want to mention. First off, it's been pretty much confirmed that the Biden administration was not consulted.
So here is a terror that the Biden-Harris administration has invited into the United States. Charge taxpayers for their travel, their food, their lodging, medical, training, given aid, all on the backs of American taxpayers. This is treason. On Thursday, Senator J.D. Vance, who is the running mate for former President Donald Trump for vice president, visited the U.S.-Mexico border in Arizona. Now, during his visit, Vance criticized the Biden administration's immigration policies and specifically targeted Vice President Kamala Harris for her record on the issue. J.D. Vance stated, quote, "It's hard to believe until you see it with your own eyes, just how bad the policies of Kamala Harris's administration have been when it comes to the southern border," end quote.
Hey, my name is John Anfinson, and I'm the Executive Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council. Thank you to Speaker Johnson and Representative Issa for coming here again to see the border once again with their own eyes, because there's no substitute for being here in person. The men and the women of the Border Patrol continue to be in this precarious position. They're stuck between their desire to do the job that they were trained to do and the White House's policies that prevent them from doing that job. The president's executive order last month is being touted as a success because the number of encounters by the Border Patrol have decreased, and that's right. Fewer people are being encountered by the Border Patrol between the ports of entry. But that's not the whole story, because instead of crossing illegally between the ports, asylum seekers, many of whom are only seeking to abuse the system, are now primarily showing up at ports of entry and airports. So much so that customs officers in June encountered more asylum seekers than the Border Patrol did. So essentially, the only thing that's changed since the executive order went into effect is that the processing is happening in a different place. Customs officers have their own jobs to do, and many of them can't because now they are having to do the same processing that Border Patrol agents have been doing for years and continue to do. So this isn't just a Border Patrol issue now it's all of CBP. And while fewer asylum seekers between the ports does get some agents back into the field, There's still far too many of them stuck indoors processing, both on the southwest border and the northern border. We still have hundreds of known gotaways every day disappearing into the country. And actually, since the executive order went into place, we're seeing an average of about 2,500 gotaways every week. And for the most part, these gotaways are people who know that they wouldn't be able to use the asylum system to enter for one reason or another, including those that have a criminal history and know that they would get in more trouble if they're taken into custody. Assaults on agents continue because people are illegally entering knowing that this is a unique chapter along the border, and they don't know if this is their only chance to enter, knowing that all they have to do is get past that agent that's standing in their way. So some of them fight. We're grateful that there are still some in the House and Senate that are willing to come to the border again and again to see and shed some light on basically what's happening here, because even today, the issue of border security sometimes takes a backseat to some other news. But day in, day out, 24 hours a day, agents are here dealing with this. And while I'm glad that some agents are back in the field, actually doing their job, far too many are still handcuffed by the White House's policies.
Now, again, she is the border czar, and J.D. Vance is clearly focusing on his criticism of Kamala Harris rather than President Joe Biden, probably because Joe Biden's no longer really a competitor at this point. So anyway, back to Kamala Harris, right? Anyway, he toured the border wall in Cochise County, Arizona, which has become a very significant area for border crossings escorted by law enforcement officials. Now get this, guys. During J.D. Vance's visit, he promised that if he and Donald Trump were elected, their administration would bring back Donald Trump's Remain in Mexico policy in the catch and release policies and complete the construction of the border wall. Now, J.D. Vance, he also vowed to carry out mass deportations of illegal immigrants, echoing a promise that was made by Donald Trump since he began his 2024 campaign. But despite the fact that the number of illegal border crossings has decreased for the last 5 months, reaching the lowest level since late 2020, J.D. Vance criticized the Biden-Harris administration. And we all know why these numbers, quote unquote, decreased in the last 5 months, right? And in an interview following J.D. Vance's tour, he said, quote, "No, I don't think that they're doing anything right." And when the Biden and when the Harris administration says that the border crossings have dropped, she's not counting a lot of the people, end quote, who are actually coming through legal ports of entry. J.D. Vance argued that when combining illegal crossings with legal entries, the number of people crossing or entering the United States legally or illegally is very high. So again, the number of people still entering the United States illegally today in August 2024 is still very high. Republicans, including J.D. Vance, often accuse the administration of misleading the public by allowing migrants to enter legally at ports of entry instead of crossing illegally. However, entering a port of entry is legal. Contrary to J.D. Vance's suggestion, and the overall number of crossings has indeed decreased when considering both illegal crossings and legal admissions together. Now, but guys, this is coming from CBS News. We all know that the number of illegal migrants entering the country is still extremely high. Joe Biden at the last minute did a Hail Mary play to basically, pass this law that caps the number of illegal immigrants into the country by, 2,500 people per day, 3,000 people per day. I forget the exact number, but the simple fact of the matter is this was a pure political play, and they're not going to be pulling the wool over they're not going to pull the wool over the American people's eyes any longer. We see through the lies. Now, when asked what J.D. Vance would do to address the root causes of immigration from South American countries such as Venezuela, and a task Vice President Kamala Harris was given early in the Biden administration, Vance referred to Harris as the border czar. And I mean, she is, or she's supposed to be the border czar, although Kamala Harris really hasn't done anything about the border. But again, this is a role that she's pretty much just let fall by the wayside. So J.D. Vance said, well, she was tasked, as the border czar, with addressing the root causes of immigration. I think that the root causes of illegal immigration are that Kamala Harris refuses to do her job, end quote. This comes directly from J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance proposed focusing on economic development in Central and South America to reduce migration, saying that, quote, this is not rocket science, basically emphasizing his plan to build up the economies of Central America and South America to make migration less common so that people could build a life in their home countries. Now, statistics from the first 4 months of 2024 show that the Tucson sector of Arizona, which includes Cochise County, recorded over 250,000 migrant apprehensions. This is the highest number in any region patrolled by the Border Patrol. Now, J.D. Vance also linked the flow of fentanyl into the United States to the Biden-Harris administration's policies, referencing this his personal experience with addiction in his own family. He said, quote, I've been a little kid waiting at the bedside of his own mother, angry at his mom, because she took something that she shouldn't have, but praying to God, please, Jesus, let her wake up. And the unfortunate truth is because of the poison that Kamala Harris has let into this country, end quote. Now, finally, J.D. Vance, he defended his stance on finishing the border wall, countering a lot of the critics and haters who argue that the borders are disruptive and that they're impractical. He said, quote, I'm sure that not everything's perfect, but law enforcement sometimes does cause disruptions. And it's the sort of thing that, that's totally necessary in order for us to have a secure border. I think that the disruptions of having a flood of people come in is much worse than the disruption of having a wall. And it's one of those things where the cost benefit analysis, I think, definitely counsels in favor of us finishing the border wall, end quote. So what do y'all think? Should we have the border wall or not? Should we just let any old body come into the United States? I mean, we got to have some law and order here. Anyway, guys, if you haven't already, thanks so much for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter. I totally appreciate you guys. I'll see you on the next one.